Kylie Mowbray-Allen from Hello Media, and I am a business coach specializing in digital marketing. So I help you get visible online, and my new favorite word, uncomplify things for
it's
you.
Becoming my favorite words very quickly too, I have to say.
I found myself using it in so many ways and loving it, loving my word. I just was fiddling here behind in the background, Jenny, because I held my meetup last week, which, as you know, is all about women supporting women in business. It's positive, passionate businesswomen.
Yep.
And I was the speaker. That's a funny thing to say, isn't it? In your own meetup, I invited myself to be the guest speaker.
Well, at least you know you'll turn up right.
That's right. And I really wanted to talk on the topic of women collaborating more and women supporting each other. And so I had some great stats and things. So anyway, I was just pulling it up behind the scenes today so I could share some of those stats, which were quite mind-blowing, to be honest.
Really? So tell me, what was your favorite mind-blowing stat that you found when you're doing your research for that?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to pull it up so I don't get it wrong. So I have actual correct details for it. So let's go back to that soon once I've found it. So Jenny, as you know, our topic today is women supporting women in business. So clearly you're a woman, I'm a woman, we're in business. And when we met at a workshop, we immediately connected. In fact, I think we connected beforehand because we knew we were both going to be at the workshop. We were clearly intrigued by each other. I checked out your website, checked out your socials, etc. I was like, yay, I'm really looking forward to meeting Jenny. And then lo and behold, we were sat beside each other in our pre-arranged seats, which was just a major bonus.
It was. And we made sure that we were always close thereafter, right? We just kind of had to manipulate the system a bit to make sure that happened.
And what was the winning formula for me with you is that I was late. I'd, driven 2.5 hours to be there. It was late through the traffic, etc. And there's been a bit of crossness and crankiness about my late turn up. And I felt incredibly awkward. I'm trying to get through to my designated spot, which was sort of close to the front.
I remember.
Push through people. And you, instead of going, and being annoyed about me trying to maneuver my way around you and everything, you helped me get my thing out of the bag. You helped me set up my laptop. It was just beautiful. And so it was a perfect example of there's this beautiful woman clearly seeing me in a little moment of distress and awkwardness, or maybe more awkwardness than distress. And you lent a hand. And that's what, when I was doing a lot of my research around this topic, even years ago when I first got involved in women's networking groups, was really working out that we as women support each other a whole lot more in business. And we're much better at holding out our hand to help you along the way than we are at competing. Clearly, we're not all the same. Obviously, you can't, lump all one sex into one big group, but we are much more likely to sing out and say, we need a bit of help. We're much more likely to turn up and support people when they need that help. And that's an amazing thing. So I just wanted to bring that up about our first meeting, because I think that set the tone for what was coming next.
I think it really did, and thank you for sharing that. I remember it very vividly, and I guess I understand the awkwardness of when you first come into a room and you want to kind of present your best self, and then you are kind of given situations which kind of challenge you in doing that, and we can feel alone so easily, even though that we know we're perfectly competent, we are enough, and all those things, and we know that fundamentally, when those kind of challenges come up to us, what we want to do is actually say, can you help me? But you don't know anyone yet. So you feel a bit awkward about reaching out and asking the question. And what I love about you is that you were so gracious in allowing me to do that. It wasn't like you went, no, I'm fine, which a lot of people would. They would resist that and go, no, I'm fine, I'll just work it out. You were like, oh, yes, thank you. And you were so gracious and open about doing that. And I think that's one of the key things for me about women in business is we're not always great at asking for help, but we're always willing to take it when it's offered, because we recognize the intention and we recognize that it's coming to us from a really mostly from a heartfelt, supportive service way, not because we're trying to change your perception or stand up and say, aren't I great for helping? And that's what I love about working with women is we're all recognize we all want to help and support. We all want to build and grow each other. And even those that aren't really great at asking for help, we're always willing to help them too.
Yes, indeed. And do you know what I just realized as I was thinking about your meetups and your retreat? So there's always been, particularly your meetups that I've been to, there's always been a great mix of men and women. And sometimes there's been more men than women. And then when I came to a retreat, there was a man there, which I think is always wonderful. It brings some different energy into a room and all of that. And then I thought, okay, what about the different coaching programs we've been a part of? They're generally predominantly women.
Yeah.
And which I find really fascinating. And I've noticed my statistics on social media have initially, I was more like about a 60-40 with my man-women split. So 60 women, well, and that's not strict stats, that's approximates.
Yeah.
Now we're looking more at the late 70s, early 20s for my mix. Now I certainly don't target just women. Certainly, well, I don't even like the word target, but I'm not really trying to attract just women. I'm all about everybody, except with my meetup group, which is
of course
women. So it's been really interesting for me watching that change and evolve over time. And so even though it hasn't been intentional, it's definitely more about obviously the women are picking up more of what I'm putting down.
What I find interesting about those stats for me is that my meetups are often predominantly male. So I have a lot of meetups and a lot of men come to my meetup. So whether that's about the type of energy or the way that we're creating it, or because we're creating a safe space for everybody to come and say, I'm awesome and I'm also pretty crap at that in the same room, and feel confident about both ends of that scale. But with my clients, most of my clients are women. And I think that, and I feel that all my anecdotal discussion around that is that it's because we're willing and recognize the importance of learning and asking for help. We recognize and understand that we're about growth, and you can only grow with others around you and with other people to support you, whether that's a book, because that's something else, whether it's a podcast. But if you're trying to grow your business, it's lonely. And having people around you to share that and guide your path is really what women, I feel, are so much stronger at doing, which is why at the moment, so many businesses that I've seen post-COVID that have come out, from my perspective, the number of female-led businesses that have risen over the last year just seems to be outnumbering the men. Now, that may not be true, but perception-wise, I just see them everywhere. But I don't see a lot of new businesses or hobby-style businesses growing from men.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think that pivot has been a lot more difficult for a lot of men. And I think that comes about from women are, I'm really opening myself up here to a bit of but so I'm going to say often, not always, often women are better at juggling. Women are better at the multitasking. And so when things are thrown at us, we're used to having to go, oh, okay, we'll just juggle another ball as we go along. And so, yes, there were many that, couldn't cope with the pivot, but then maybe a little later came on and said, okay, clearly I'm not going to be able to go back to that job. So how am I going to make this work? What am I going to do? And so, it has been fascinating to watch all these new entrepreneurs coming out going, can I actually make a business out of this? Now, so I actually have a number of men that I work with and my group coaching and on my one-on-one. And I really, really enjoy it. I really enjoy the change, the different, the different energy, the whatever, which is great. But one thing that's super interesting is there is less of the, what would you call it, Jenni? That chit chat or that
banter.
The banter, and the getting to know you behind the scenes sort of stuff, which is fine. I'm not saying one way or the other is better, but it's interesting, isn't it, that clearly when women are working together, we feel it's so important to really resonate with each other, to really understand each other, to know what makes them tick, etc. But we don't seem to have that same desire when it's with the men. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I think some part I would, but what I'd add, I think is that because what I feel, and at least the clients that I've worked with, is for them to have actually asked you for help and start engaging with you, they've already in their head built that rapport, because that's how they got to say, yes, let's start. So when it actually comes to working with you, it's a given that we connected. It's a given that you understand me, because that's why I'm working with you. Whereas, so for me, they don't need to have that conversation. And to be honest, I resonate a lot with that too. And so sometimes, we've talked about, sometimes I struggle with the banter because I just want to be like, we've got an hour, let's get stuff done. because I want to get maximize the value for them in that hour. And sometimes I'm a little bit like that and I forget, oh, maybe you need to stop asking, don't talk about business yet. Let's have that rapport building or reconnecting each week about what we're doing and how we are before we jump into business. So I think it depends on, and this is not words that would normally come out of my mouth, to be honest, but it's a little bit about that energy that you're projecting. What is the frame of reference in your mind? Is it that kind of more feminine energy about connection and collaboration and learning? Or is it that more masculine energy about let's get stuff done? And that's that kind of traditional model. And I think it depends on what you show up for and how you want to, what you want to get out of that time. But I would agree on most of it. Most of my male clients are very much let's just get into it. I know you, you know me. We trust each other because I've already engaged you. So let's just get stuff done.
Yes, absolutely. And you and I have had this discussion on a number of occasions about me in the early days where I was suddenly like frustrated with why are they trying to get me to not they, I shouldn't say they, some of them, they'll cry in our sessions and I'm not a life coach nor a counselor. And I was quite ill-equipped with how to deal with that because I'm showing up to teach what I teach or to guide them through what I in the realm that I work in. But then somebody once said to me, which was a really good one, which was actually they want to be able to do that with you. That's why they're with you. But sometimes they've just got to clear that stuff at the beginning, get that out of there, say it how it is so that then they can get stuck in and get the learning done. And I thought that was really, really fascinating. And I realized that's the same for me in many instances. For example, think about my daughter coming home from school. How was your day? Well, actually, I never say how was your day because you're only going to get a good or whatever. I learned early on to always ask questions that get an actual proper answer. So anyway, we do that sort of those little bits to start with. Then it will be maybe a little while later, maybe a few hours even before we get down to the nitty gritty of what actually, if there was a drama that happened or something big unfolded, which is something that's going on for her with her group at the moment. And it's quite interesting that it was not talked about straight away. There wasn't that boom, let's get into it. There was a slow kind of evolve and then woof, open the gates. So I
find the same thing with my daughter as well. I find exactly the same responses that you get that immediate, welfare check-in, you're here, you're right, there's no bruises on you, you're good. And then, you settle into the routine. And then when they're relaxed and then you come and sit on the couch or you've had having dinner and, the kind of conversation starts and there's a engagement about, oh, maybe I should tell you something, or let's just ask a little bit more deeper questions.
Yes, and see, because I'm so the opposite, I'm the one that walks in and goes, you wouldn't believe what happened today.
Me too.
Today was the best day because blah, 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 blah. Or today was a horror or whatever it was. So dramatic.
Well, because we need to debrief, and I think you and I are very much people who like to have conversations to let out who we are and kind of process externally. And then we come back and go like, oh yeah, I'll reflect later. I need to, get it out, throw it into the universe to kind of process, and then I'll come back and have a quiet reflection. Whereas I feel like there is a lot of, and that's one of the biggest challenges. And what I love about working with women is in a group of women, you'll have all those different dynamics and you'll have those, and this is in a lot of, in all groups, but I know particularly when I run a group that's just women, you'll have the quiet, the more introverted lady who's just listening and reflecting. And then you're halfway through our group coaching call will come out with just the most amazing insight because they've just been listening and reflecting and they haven't needed to fill the space with their voice or their time. They're just happy to sit back and listen so they can serve the group. And what I love about working with women is that piece is we innately, without even thinking about it, flow with each other in the room, and we just allow the kind of the conversation and the discussion to bounce. And so the ideas become, I find, a lot fuller and a lot bigger because we're not coming with a sense of I don't know, and maybe this is men versus women kind of conversation, and I don't mean that, but sometimes I feel like we have that kind of breakthrough moments because we allow ourselves to show up as ourselves without any expectation. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I agree. And I think on the whole, we're able to be a bit more vulnerable. We're able to show our softer side or our awkwardness or, that kind of a thing. So I many years ago, I was asked to speak at our local women's networking group, and I hadn't even heard of them before. So it was probably, I'd say maybe 11 years ago now. So I turn up and do my thing, and then it was just extraordinary what came out of that. It was just magical. And then, of course, me hand up when they said we need more people on the committee. There I am. Yes, I'll do it. And then I was involved with them for 9 years, which was amazing. And then it folded, and then I relaunched it as Positive Passionate Businesswomen. But what's been fascinating to me over the time is the women that came back month after month after month after month, never missed a session. And if they were like, sending you a message in advance, apologizing for not being there, etc. Where I've always thought about it as like, turn up if you can, that's great, it's wonderful to connect. But for some of the women, it was literally like a lifeline to other people. A lot of women in business work by themselves in business. Yeah. So having those connections is so important. So whether you join meetup groups that are, I was going to say co-ed, but you know what I mean, or whether you join them that are just women, one thing I've noticed is, where are the meetup groups for men? Just the men. So I think that it really shows that women are definitely better at getting together and recognizing the need to get together, recognizing the need for those sort of like a knitting circle or a whatever, but in business. Yep. And obviously there are men out there doing networking and stuff like that, but there doesn't seem to me much going on just for the men being with the men.
It's a really interesting question, actually, and I'm part of a group called Strong Women, Strong Business, which is an Indigenous women's business network. And since joining that group about 18 months, 2 years ago, there's a huge number of women, and particularly through COVID, the number of women that joined that who are starting business in the Indigenous space is huge. But that whole group is about nurturing and connecting and sharing information. It's a very active group. When I think it comes back to, if we think back, many, many moons ago, women did connect over whether it was preparing food, knitting circle, mending clothes, washing, whereas men used to connect doing the work. So in those days, it was, and that's our version of work, that was women's work, but the men would connect in the fields or going hunting or whatever it was, that they would connect and have those discussions during that time. Whereas now work is so different. We still have those connections through mothers groups, through parents clubs, through whatever, I never went through that. And I found a lot of my friends who had these beautiful female connections because they grew up with kids. I didn't have that because I didn't have children when I was younger. And so all these, these amazing women's circles and parents groups, and I've got friends who've been, really good friends, and in fact, best friends with the women that they had their babies with. And you're like, because I didn't go through that parental cycle. Whereas now men don't have that same connection. They don't have, men's groups. And I actually just met one of the amazing guy who came to my meetup last week, Brendan, who's actually started a program specifically for men. And it's about empowering men to speak up, have conversations about business or life or whatever it is, so they can create that space. So they can create an environment where they can come and actually start to embrace that, vulnerability and that connection with their whole self, not just this need to be a provider.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? And in fact, that did jog my memory that there is an amazing guy here in my local town that runs a group for men and their sons. But so it's only around that puberty time. So, maybe not pre-puberty and puberty. And they go out in the bush and they do, camps and all kinds of things like that. And there's also the Fatherhood Project here. So it teams up particularly boys, but I think it's mostly boys, but there might be girls as well that have single mothers, and it connects them up with a man that could be a bit like an uncle or something like that. So there's some beautiful things out there, but certainly, and there's also Dostoevsky, which is our men's Russian choir, who's pretty amazing, and they do things, they're just going on a national tour now, which is pretty amazing. So there are things where men connect, but definitely nothing I know of where men connect in business and get together and all of that, which I think comes down to, when you're connecting, there's got to be an element of honesty and all of that. And I'm not saying they're not honest, but being vulnerable, I think, can be a little harder for them.
And I find that even at the networking groups that we go to, that you and I have been to, is that you do have that it's that role of having to posture and have to turn up and be a particular and play a particular role. And I think that's changing. I think men, across the globe, both men and women are starting to be more comfortable with the role that they're choosing to play and how they should show up and be a little bit more vulnerable. But I feel with women is there's still that gap. There's still that sitting behind the eight ball, that feeling that we need a little bit more support to get that equality and get that level playing field around. So I think having women who mentor women and help support and build the tower so someone else can stand up on you to actually help raise other women, it's still really important until we get to a point where we're not thinking about is it a man or is it a woman, it's just a person. And I think until we get to that point, we're always going to need a group of support to support women, constantly help building our confidence, our skills, our profile, our network, all those things, so that we can feel, and bring that kind of inner understanding that we're good enough, actually in an outward way, to say, you know what, I can stand in any room, hold my own, be confident, do what I need to do, and I'm just a person first. But we're a long way from there, I think, unfortunately.
I totally agree with you. It's so true, isn't it? And what a wonderful day that will be when we don't.
It will be, yeah. We're getting closer. I honestly believe we're getting closer. But what I'd love to know from you, like, we've done this collaboration because you and I, synergistically connected, and we had this, like, yes, we're so similar, but we're so different in the way that we do things. It's kind of this funny little kind of connection that we've created that I would never have imagined, when I first met you, we would be here today having these conversations. And you and I have collaborated or connected on lots of different things over the last year. But if you've got people or women listening to this going, how do I build a collaboration? How do I support someone else when I don't feel I have all the answers? What advice would you give someone listening going, how do I do that?
Perfect question. And I just have a little thing here with a few top little ideas for different ways that you can start with collaborating. One of them is cross-promoting each other on social media. So that is the simplest thing of all to do. Excuse me, I'm a little croaky today. All you need to do is find someone who you really like, the style that they're putting out, or it might be a product that they have that you love, whatever it is. And all you got to do is share it onto your page or share it onto your personal page. So that's a beautiful way to collaborate, a great way to support, and literally takes 10 seconds and is worth so much more to the person that you're actually doing it for. The next one is guest posting. So that would be, could be writing a blog. It could be, so for example, I could write a blog for you all about digital marketing and how it will really, help you get visible and, get your branding on point and da-da-da-da. Now, it doesn't take away from your business. No. What it's going to do is then enhance. Also, it's great for your SEO then, because anybody that's searching up that, yours will come up, et cetera, et cetera. You can then link back to my site, which is also great for SEO. And then, of course, we can do that in reverse, so that then you write the guest post blog, et cetera, et cetera. And then we both get content to use on our socials out of that. So that's another beautiful way of collaborating, which doesn't mean stepping out of your comfort zone and, trying something really massive. The next one, obviously, is what you and I are doing. So start a podcast or co-host a webinar. It doesn't have to be as regular as you and I. So with weekly, it could be monthly, it could be whenever it is that you want to do it. There's also what we do with our Hello You interviews. Excuse me. So anyone that is a member of Positive Passionate Businesswomen, then get an opportunity for so we go live, we do it on Zoom, and it goes live onto Facebook, onto LinkedIn, onto YouTube, and it's 15 questions in 15 minutes, and it's just a great way to get to know you. So and it's the same questions for everybody. So interviewing someone, and Samita, who I'm just trying to, Dita is her business, and it's all about sustainable eco fashion, et cetera, et cetera. She interviews people regularly that are amazing women doing amazing things in business with textiles. So she's really picked up that baton and run with it, and she's doing an amazing job. And of course, then they're on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, of course.
So the next one is offering up to be a speaker. So all you need to do for that is prepare your speaker bio. So it could be like, for example, I can talk on I was about to say on like 5 different topics, and I'm like maybe 55. But if you have there exactly what it is that you like to talk about, and then offer that up, you can put it out on your own personal Facebook. You can put it out there on your business. You can go into groups and say, hey, I really enjoy speaking on these topics and I have a lot of expertise in this area. So if you'd like me to come along to an event or speak up on online meetup or something, that's a wonderful way to do it as well. And then the final one is, of course, go to networking events, whether that is in person or online. But it is when you're connecting in that way, so you're all in a private room, whether it's in person or online, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way to make connections and then find out who you can do those collaborations with. Nice. What about you, Jenni? What would you add to that?
It's funny because I love the way you've gone. These are the 5 key things to do. I kind of have a little flip on that. And so for me, I would be saying, if you're a female in business, if you're a mum with lots of kids and you're like a boss at being a mum, it's actually about sharing what your expertise and your skills and your experience with the broader community, and let people know that what they're feeling is okay, and actually normalize how people are what they're going through. Because often we feel like we're alone. Every mum goes through, as I'm now learning as a new stepmom, that everybody goes through that kind of challenge of, am I doing it right? What's going to happen? I said the wrong thing. Is their life going to be completely changed because I said the wrong thing? All those things. And we all have those, no matter how intelligent we are, how much experience we have. And so being able to be told, actually, that's okay. Every person feels like that at some point in their career or their life or their family or their marriage or their relationship, and being able to share that message, because so often we still have people who believe that their situation is unique and that no one will understand. So I like the idea of when women support women is about saying, we understand you. Even if we've never experienced it, we can listen, acknowledge, recognize what they're going through, and then just help them process. And I think that's the value that we bring, is the power of reflection and listening and being able to say, you're okay, you're enough, it just happens, let's find a path for you. So all those great things, and they're really great ways to actually do that in a really proactive way. But I like to start with just letting the women around you know that, you're there if they need you. Even if you don't ask for help, I'm here. It doesn't matter what it is. And I think that's the way that we can start that community of collaboration and connection, by just being okay with asking the question.
I just love that you've brought that up. I think that's so perfect. It's all those things like, the Me Too movement, the Are You Okay Day, all those kinds of things. I love that there's, I'm a big fan of the days of the year, but I particularly love those ones that are so well known, that brings people out. And even if you don't want to speak up, you're seeing others speak up, which immediately makes you feel included in something, which is just, that's one of the biggest things at the heart of it all, isn't it? Is about feeling that you're part of something, that you're part of a community, that you're part of a tribe, and that you're supported no matter what your views are.
Exactly. That's what I think. I think that's what you've shown me in business. When I started a business, as I said, my first couple of clients were women who said, hey, you're starting a business. Is there anything that I can help you with, or that you can help me with? And that was my first couple of clients, is like, hey, can you help me with that? Because they wanted to support the growth of my business when I very first started. That gave me confidence. That made me go, actually, I can do that. And that actually gave me that kind of feeling of, I can walk with my, back straight, chest out, and go, I have this. This is going to be amazing. Because I had that one person say, why don't you try this? And so I think when we do that, and we're more willing to do that, I just feel like we're often more willing to do that, particularly new business owners. Even if we're competing, like we've talked to, there's lots of other coaches who do this work. And even if we're technically competing because we're both in the same coaching market, the pool is big enough for everybody. And I think we recognize that the pool is big enough for everybody. We can all jump in, all splash around, all enjoy ourselves, all grow. And we're not going to be actually taking away from anyone else's power or amazing ability.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd like to mention one thing that I talked about the other night at that meetup, which was have a think about who are the people, the 5 people that you spend the most time with, not in your personal life, in your business life. And think about those, because they're the ones that will influence you the most. So
Definitely.
if you are spending time with, and it doesn't mean just women, it could be the women and the men, whoever it is, they're the ones. So if they're negative, if they're always complaining about business, if they're always saying it's hard, it's too hard, it's fine to sometimes talk about the reality and how hard it is at times, but that's not going to uplift you, is it? It's not going to
No.
inspire you. So if you can think about who are those 5 people that you spend the most time with, are they inspiring you? Are they uplifting you? Are they making you feel, yes, I can do this. Yes, I'm enough. Yes, I'm going to, set some new goals, et cetera,
Yeah.
and then find a way to go after those goals. Then I think that's a really important one.
I think that's so important, and we do forget that, isn't it? We do forget the influence the people around us have, and it goes back to that kind of, we stay in our space. This is what we have, and there's nothing else for what we see immediately. But there's so much more opportunity, particularly with digital marketing, particularly with the web, and particularly with Facebook and Instagram, where you can connect with women everywhere across the world, and not just go, hey, I like you, but share, like you said, sharing a post, commenting on a post, referring someone, doing a shout out for other people, whether they're doing a great job, and even those that have done a bad job but have recognized it and then shown up to fix it. They're the ones that I love to see, where we see people who recognize what's gone really well as what hasn't gone well, and actually share that lesson with people so that they can learn and not have to go through that same process themselves.
Yes, definitely. And I would like to put a challenge out there for everyone today. So to you and I also, Jenni, but to anybody that's listening, which is to think about 3 people, 3 women in particular, 3 women, and go and either write them a testimonial, send them an email as a testimonial that they can then share, or of course do a Google one or a Facebook one, whatever it is you can, but give some amazing feedback. The next one is, if that's not your jam, then do a referral. Think of someone that you know that really could connect with that person over there, and send an e-intro or do it on Messenger and find a way to connect. So think of 3 women today that you can do something for that's amazing.
I love that. In fact, we're going to post that for our amazing TV watching. We're going to post that on I'm going to post that on my Facebook page as a challenge, not to just those who are watching this. Anyone who comes to our page, do that, share that. That would be amazing. And let us know, how that goes, and put it on our page, share it on our page so that we can actually share that love too. I love that exercise.
Absolutely. So what we do in both in Hello Media and in Positive Passionate Businesswomen is that we do one shout out per week. So in Hello Media, we do a shout out for one of our clients, not just present, but also past clients. And on Positive Passionate Businesswomen, we do a shout out for one of our huddle members. And I feel it's so important. So often it's just sharing one of their posts that really has inspired us or something, but it's a really simple thing to do, which makes the other person that's received it feel amazing. So really, really easy. So think of ways that you can do it today, particularly, but every week going forward, that we are lifting somebody up.
Yeah, because it's all about supporting others, because we support others, then they get to support, and then they will spread their love. So the one person we impact, they're going to impact 5 or 6 or 7 people, depending on the stats that you look at, and that's going to have that's going to change our communities and change the people we get to connect with.
Absolutely. So how can people connect with you, Jenni?
So they can connect with me on @ElephantInTheRoomAU on Instagram and Facebook. It's the easiest way to find me. I'm always there. It's the place I like to hang out. And through there, you can connect with my website to book into one of my discovery calls, or even join one of our coaching programs or mastermind retreats. But it's @ElephantInTheRoomAU.
And I can be connected with by going to hellomedia.team on the website and also on the socials. But Jenni, we're getting really close to your retreat. So I want you to tell everybody about how they can get involved. And do you have any spots left?
Yeah, I do. We still actually do have 2 spots available. We had another one open up. So we have 2 spots. It's a 3-day mastermind where we basically repack your business, look at what you're doing really well, look at where we need to change, creating clarity, structure, and process. We kick off on the 21st of May. So normally that's part of my 6-month in coaching program, but we're actually offering it for people who just want to come to the retreat. So if you want 3 days to get out of your business, to work on your business, so get away from the day-to-day minutia and just work on your business strategy, business structure, business process, 21st to 23rd of May, up up at Cabarita Beach for you and down for me. So we're at Cabarita Beach in the most amazing Airbnb, and we're going to provide great food, some drinks, great support, and get you to start kicking goals in your business. So reach out if you have any questions or would like to come and join us. We'd love to see you there.
And having been to it, was it March when I attended?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, Jenni, it was so amazing. I can't tell you. And I still have my book beside me. That's literally sitting right here that I work through regularly. Like something will pop into my mind and I'm like, right, do want to get back to that. So I think that not only do you get totally immersed in it, but then it has some amazing long-term flow on and great effects coming up. So
thank
that's
you for
exciting.
That. And you've got new programs being launched.
Yes, I do. It's very exciting. And something happened recently, which was just another awesome thing to make me go, yes, I'm so glad that I did that and changed that. Amazing. And I think that we all need to remember the importance of if there's something that's not quite working for you, it's okay to evolve it. And it doesn't mean it's a nightmare. It doesn't mean it failed. It doesn't mean anything. For me, it was actually going too well. And I was really stuck at a certain point. And I was like, this is all going to change. This is going to change. It's too much. Yeah, and it's been a brilliant change. And I love it when a little something not just going to say snacks, a little something snaps or whatever it is. And you just go, yep, great, perfect. I'm so glad I made that decision. So guys, I think that's the thing to remember. Trust what you feel, trust what you know is the right thing that you should be doing, and move forward with confidence.
100%. That's amazing. Well, I can't wait to see the new programs as you launch them. And if anyone wants to connect us, we're back here next Friday, every Friday at 9:15 Eastern Seaboard time is probably the easiest way to say it now for bite-sized conversations. What are we talking about next week, Kylie?
I believe we're talking about, I could be wrong, but were we to do with customer journey? Merlin probably has a note about our topic. But yeah, we might need to confirm that one, Jenni.
We'll come back.
All right.
But we're here every Friday to chat. So we love chatting. If you're watching us, listening to us on the podcast, watching us on Facebook, or watching us live on Zoom, we love having you here every week. So bring your friend, come next week, ask us questions and let us know what you want to talk about.
Absolutely, I agree. And thanks, guys, for being here, and thanks for listening. And Jenni, as always, thanks for giving me the chance to hang out with you every Friday, because I love it.
So much fun hanging out with you. I love it. It starts my Friday off right.
Yes. All right. I look forward to
have an amazing day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.